Yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of that deadly plane crash in Grand Bahama, where the leaders of Bahamas Faith Ministries and other members were killed.
The church's senior pastor reflected on the tragedy with Scieska, Adderley, and underscored his commitment of ensuring Dr. Munroe's vision and legacy lives on.
For Pastor Dave Burrows, last year's plane crash, which killed Bahamas Faith Ministries International Senior Pastor Dr. Myles Munroe, his wife, and 7 others, marks one of the most traumatic events to ever take place in his life, as they were all his close friends. BFM's senior pastor says the news initially was a shock, which then turned into disbelief. But as time progressed, that disbelief Pastor Burrows shared turned into acceptance, along with a sense of responsibility that suddenly now fell on him. He says getting through the first year of this tragedy has been the biggest milestone the church has had to overcome.
This entire year has been a year of firsts. So the first Christmas, the first Father's Day, the first Mother's Day, and so every new month you were reminded that, okay, they are not here, and we were reminded of the circumstances under which they left. So that was the most difficult challenge for me.
Although coming to grips with this loss hasn't been easy, BFM senior pastor says they've been able to do so from the tremendous support received both locally and internationally. Now, though, he says the real work begins.
He would want us to continue to expand the vision and to accomplish the things that he began. And so that's what we are doing. We are continuing the vision. And we have some really, really exciting plans that we're going to unveil very shortly about the church, the ministry, and what's ahead.
And as the church continues to move its mission forward, Pastor Burrows believes his mentor and good friend, Dr. Myles Munroe, is smiling down on them.
He looked at what was on the horizon, and he said, you know, I've poured my life into so many people, and I feel comfortable. He felt comfortable if he died, but none of us expected it, expected that he would die. So, but I believe that he's very pleased, and I knew him a long time, and I knew, what he would have desired for the church, and so I believe he's very pleased. He's very pleased.
Despite losing Dr. Munroe, his wife Ruth Ann, Dr. Richard Pinder, Lavard, Riddell, and Johannan Parks, Captain Stanley Thurston, Fracan Cooper, and Diego de Santiago, Pastor Burrows says their legacy will live on through its ministry. Scieska, Adderley, ZNS Network News.
For the Munroe children to say it's been a difficult road is an understatement. They say grieving is still a long way away, and to deal with it, they find lots of activities to keep them busy.
Yet instead of dwelling on the pain, they prefer to talk about the road ahead. Jared Higgs has that.
Whether it was a day or a year, it's still kind of the same for me. It's no, it doesn't make it easier.
As Myles Chairo Munroe Jr. reflects on the passing of his parents, he admits the process has been hard. His sister Charisa says the last year has been a growing experience.
We have had to stay strong and be grown for the world in the midst of our grief, which has been a very challenging process, but it's been a growing one. And then, they've been honoring my dad and my mom throughout different parts of the world. So, of course, they want us to be a part of that.
Chairo acknowledged his father's work has elevated his excellent global presence. And despite that, his father's reach around the world still surprises him.
He just was a man that served himself to the world, and that opened, a lot of doors for him.
The Munroe siblings plan to tap into that network as they launch the Myles and Ruth Munroe Foundation on November 12th.
One thing about my parents, they loved people, whatever that meant. Whether that meant serving them, giving back to them. And so if we do nothing else, we want to do exactly that. Love on people, serve communities, make nations greater.
Both Chairo and Charisa reflected on their formative years in the church, working in the media department and nursery department respectively. They say that the fact that they were never forced to be involved made them even more eager to participate.
Church was a part of our lives, yes. Sometimes we didn't want to go, but we had to. But we weren't forced to have to be in church. We weren't forced to have to sit in the front row. We weren't forced to have to do anything. And I think that's what made it easier for my brother and I to say, you know what, okay, we can do this and we want to.
Regarding their future and personal goals, the Munroes agree that planning for it isn't easy. They anticipate the Myles and Ruth Munroe Foundation will provide a platform for them to not only honor their parents' legacy, but give it the justice it deserves.
Life is turned a complete 180, and I'm still, I can't. If I say I've figured it out, I'd be lying. It's still a work in progress. Right now, I'm just focusing on the foundation, focusing on the Legacy Gala, and focusing on MMI, and just trying to ensure that we put ourselves in a position to move forward and to be successful.
The inaugural Myles and Ruth Munroe Legacy Ball will be held this Thursday, November 12th, in the Grand Ballroom of the Atlantis Paradise Island Resort. Jared Higgs, ZNS Network News.